Hi everyone, here's some of what's heading your way tonight to your news at 9.
We speak with our local Republican and Democratic parties in Joplin on how social media has influenced this year's campaigns. I'm Caitlin Shive, that's coming up.
Missouri starts reimbursing the costs to become a substitute teacher as the nation faces a shortage. I'm Zach Dodge with what a few local districts think. Coming up.
Nick Kelly is weather tonight. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Our state's most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan. I'll be more cold, more rain throughout the 4 states today. We turn it over now to meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick?
Well, at the very least, Jordan, we turn it in the right direction as far as temperatures go today. This morning, cold enough to start out with a mix of freezing rain, and even some sleet. But once we hit lunch hour and into the afternoon, temperatures went back above freezing, and then we switched over to rain chances throughout the course of the day. But that's going from one problem to another. Flood watches, a patchwork of them in effect for parts of the area, taking us through at least Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. That's up because not just the rain that's dying down on top of us right now. It's the rain we've picked up since a few days ago, and more waves of moisture heading our way before we can dry things out by Thursday afternoon. We'll break down what to expect for the next few days, when we're going to start drying out, and how much more rain we could get coming up in a bit, Jordan.
Nick, thank you. First responders today worked a crash on Highway 26 about 3 miles south of Galena, Kansas. A law officer on the scene says a van and truck hit head on and that 4 people were taken to the hospital. He says there were no fatalities at the scene. Firefighters responded because of initial reports of a fire, but apparently there was no fire. The highway has since reopened to traffic. Authorities in Jasper County, declare a mistrial in the case of a Joplin man charged with multiple child sex crimes because the man is ill. The trial of Daniel Franklin was supposed to start yesterday, but Franklin became ill and was taken to the hospital. His charges include multiple counts of statutory sodomy, statutory rape, unlawful use of a weapon. His trial has been rescheduled for later this year. A Neosho County sheriff candidate facing battery charges says he wants to share his side of the story. Authorities charged Kelly Standley with domestic battery after an alleged incident involving another man who Standley says is his business partner. The other man faces charges of misdemeanor domestic battery. Standley says he thinks the charges are going to be dismissed because the story police got from the alleged victim is not true.
It was reported that I tried to choke the person to a point where they couldn't breathe anymore, and that's a complete lie. There was actually no contact with the person. And that is actually on the paperwork that I turned over to the Sheriff's Department.
Standley is running for Neosho County Sheriff against Under Sheriff Greg Taylor. Election Day is a week away, and this year social media has played a major role in campaigning and the effort to influence people to vote. KOAM's Caitlin Shive spoke with our local Southwest Missouri Democrats and Republican groups to find out more.
Social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok have allowed those running for office to more conveniently reach a larger audience this year. President Trump tweets to his 87 million followers more than 20 times a day, and Facebook has released posts reminding people to register to vote.
Social media does overall influence people a lot because that's where a lot of people see things the first time.
Locally, social media has helped the Southwest Missouri Republicans and Democrats with campaigning.
It's made things a lot easier for us to be able to reach people sometimes without spending a lot of money.
We've always used social media heavily in campaigns. I would say since 2008, social media has been used heavily.
Allowing each side to voice their views and opinions to others.
I would say that there are a couple of issues that are playing very heavily on social media and where some people may have been swayed. No on Amendment 3 is the one where I would say I've seen the most probably social media convincing of folks.
I was explaining Amendment 3 to somebody on Facebook the other day in a conversation, and partway through the conversation they said, "You've changed my mind."
Krista Stark with the Southwest Missouri Democrats says social media is used more for reminding people, especially the younger generation, to vote rather than swaying who they vote for.
Zoomers are not a highly persuadable group. They already have their mind made up. one way or another. Just reminding them to vote would be the issue.
For MSSU student Connor Henry, being exposed to multiple campaign ads did influence him in some ways.
I was surprised by the amount of campaign ads on Instagram, to where, while it never changed my mind, it made me think about some topics in new ways.
And it has senior RJ Smith wanting to vote.
Instagram, Twitter, really anything that has like something about voting or register to vote here or something about the election. So, it's kind of making me want to vote.
In Joplin, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
You can find out more on this story on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Joplin High School's game against Rockhurst, scheduled for Friday, has been canceled. It's due to what Joplin school officials are calling reasons related to COVID-19. Rockhurst forfeits, and Joplin will play the winner of the Raymore Peculiar Lee's Summit game. Missouri Department of Education is trying to get more people to become substitute teachers as the state and nation face a shortage. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on what local districts think of the state's efforts.
Dana Newman originally started substitute teaching to make some extra money, but it quickly turned into so much more.
It's enjoyable. You actually get to put your feet in a classroom so you know what your own child is going through.
Now, 20 years later, she still has the same passion for her students.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Pretty much every school in the area could use more people like Newman as the nation tries to work through a substitute teacher shortage, an issue that's been made worse by the pandemic.
A lot of our substitutes are often retired and older folks. There have been some of those that either don't substitute as much or as regular, or some that are just kind of sitting on the sidelines to try to see how everything plays out.
In Joplin, they've been reimbursing part of the cost to become a substitute and pushing to hire more of them as quickly as possible. After all that work, they're at around a 90% fill rate.
I don't want to be anything under 90, and probably 95 to 100 would be ideal.
Webb City is also having issues.
We might have 70, 80 people on our sub list, but only maybe perhaps 15 to 20 of them are actually active.
In August, the state lowered the requirement to become a substitute teacher so the residents with a high school diploma could get certified after taking a 20-hour course. And now the state is reimbursing new subs for the cost of that certification process, saving them around $300.
Felt like that was an obstacle to some folks that would want to sub for us, so that's huge.
And Rossetti appreciates the effort the state is putting into solving the problem, but says the jury's out on how effective it will actually be.
If we were trying to incentivize some of our people that are on our list for them to be able to come in, that might be a little bit more effective.
For Missouri to step up and say, hey, yes, there is a shortage, now is when the time we need to back our teachers and our education.
In Joplin and Webb City, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
The reimbursement program ends on November 4th. There's no action required for substitute teachers to be reimbursed for certification fees. Joplin Health Department is reporting the city's 36th COVID-19 related death. Officials say the person was a 92-year-old woman who was a resident in a long-term care facility. The Jasper County Health Department reports its deaths separately, counting those outside of Joplin. That department is reporting its 51st, 52nd, and 53rd COVID-19 related deaths. They were all women, with each in their 50s, 60s, and 80s. Nationally, infections are ticking back up again, with more than 66,000 reported today, and now deaths, a lagging indicator, are starting to skyrocket again. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seary has more from Atlanta.
Record infections throughout the country, and now deaths are spiking as the new surge grinds on. The 7-day average for new cases now stands at 68,000, the highest number since the pandemic began. Over the past week, some 24 states have reported record numbers of infections, and the daily death rate is up more than 10%. The upper Midwest and mountain states still have the highest per capita rates, but now other areas that had largely been spared are showing big increases.
With a positive test rate up, that means we also have a lot of spread we're not aware of. And eventually that gets into more vulnerable populations.
Most states are now pulling back on their reopening plans, but some are still moving ahead. In Minnesota, indoor dining restrictions that were loosened about 3 weeks ago have not been reimposed. So business owners are doing whatever they can to make sure customers feel safe, including installing new air filtration systems.
The environment that we're providing is as safe as we know how. So we bought the latest technology that we could. It took a long time to get here.
Meanwhile, as work continues on a vaccine, the Trump administration is making a big push to make sure it's covered by most insurance plans, and also working on getting help for those who don't have insurance.
We've looked at every lever that we can pull to make sure those who need it the most can get it for free or discounted.
A new CDC study of healthcare workers who have gotten the virus shows that nurses have been particularly hard hit in this new surge. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor one of our four-state heroes. Ronald Parker served in the U.S. Navy in 1968, spending time in Vietnam. He earned several awards. We are proud to thank Ronald Parker, tonight's four-state hero. Nick is next with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later, we're going to take you to this morning's official swearing in of Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett.
We saw another taste of winter to start the day out, with temperatures cold enough to support rain, freezing rain, and even some sleet at times. But for areas around Seneca, Missouri, for example, the time lapse from Indigo Sky just outside of Seneca, Missouri showed just a lot of cloud cover and mainly rain for today, but at the very least, we saw temperatures head back in the right direction as we proceeded throughout the course of the day. But we're going from one problem to another. Flood watch is now the main issue for the next few days. For parts of southeast Kansas until noon on Thursday, and Lawrence, Berry, McDonald, and Newton counties in southwest Missouri until 7 o'clock Thursday evening because of the rain that we've already seen, averaging out to about 1.5 inches since this whole system began. And yet more rain on the way. We're getting wave number 2 out of the picture. We're still holding on to mainly light rain. A few areas close to the freezing mark trying to see a little bit of freezing drizzle or light freezing rain, trying to hold on. But we're going to back things down to a little bit of a drizzle tonight before the next wave of rain comes in tomorrow. But temperatures, they didn't start in a good place. Upper 20s to the lower 30s, but we headed in the right direction throughout the course of the day. We saw some mid 30s popping back up around lunchtime, and even some upper 30s, and even Bentonville pushing 41 for today. So far, we have not seen temperatures budge very much this evening, and thankfully, we're going to trend a little bit upward as we head towards sunrise in the morning. I think we'll see temperatures around 37 by sunrise, and even with more rain on the way, it'll stay rain with highs in the upper 40s. So even with the clouds and more rain on the way, we're going to continue to trend in the right direction as far as temperatures go. More snow and ice developing across New Mexico, Texas, and western parts of Oklahoma, where they do not need any more of this, but it's all because of the same storm system still stuck in place. We're going to see this front get pulled back up our way over the next few days as the main system itself, the upper low spinning across southern New Mexico, start to head our way as well. Before we can send wave number 3 our way, we'll just back things down to light drizzle throughout the course of the night under otherwise cloudy skies. Temperatures mainly holding steady and pushing into the mid to upper 30s by sunrise. Once we get into the afternoon, though, that's when the next wave brings in quite a bit of rainfall as we continue throughout our Wednesday. 37 in the morning, 46 by noon, highs around 49 degrees with a light northeast breeze. Thankfully, this day is all rain as the backside of the system finally begins to work in on Thursday morning. And fingers crossed, we can start to clear things out by Thursday afternoon. Now, in terms of additional rain, this is why the flood watches are out. We have a shot to pick up an additional 1 to maybe 3.5 inches of rain before we can clear things out by Thursday afternoon. Then we're looking a lot better if you're not a fan of this weather as we head toward the weekend. 49 for Wednesday, staying in the 40s on Thursday. Chilly, but back near 60 on Friday. Looking good for Halloween and staying quiet as we roll back the clocks on Sunday and heading towards Election Day on Tuesday. Jordan?
Nick, thank you. You know, we often talk about how our co-workers here are really our family, but it's not just localized to our newsroom. Broadcast journalists across the world are one big family. And when a family member is hurting or needs help, folks step up. And that's the thought behind this. Look closely. Meteorologists across the country, including Nick, are wearing red today. chose to do this to show their support for Doug Hetty's son, Christian, who is awesomely, bravely fighting cancer. And we thank everyone who is showing all that support. Coming up, the U.S. Supreme Court at capacity once again.
The newest Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett is ready to get to work. I'm David Spunt in Washington. More on her caseload when the court reconvenes next week.
The U.S. Supreme Court's ninth Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, was formally sworn in this morning, and less than a week after her first day, she's going to begin voting on some key issues, including two impacting her appointer, President Trump. Fox News correspondent David Spunt has more from D.C.
Justice Amy Coney Barrett is now the ninth member of the United States Supreme Court after she was formally sworn in by Chief Justice John Roberts. The newest Associate Justice took the second required oath in a private ceremony at the Supreme Court on Tuesday. This following a ceremonial swearing in at the White House Monday night.
I, Amy Coney Barrett, do solemnly swear.
Barrett spent Tuesday settling into her new chambers, and she could start making an impact right away. 2 weeks of oral arguments are expected to begin next Monday, though because of the pandemic, they will be conducted remotely. Some of Barrett's first rulings will focus on key issues that directly affect President Trump, who appointed her. They include efforts to obtain his tax returns and a move to shorten ballot deadlines in battleground states.
He is going to be a great justice for many, many years.
The Senate confirmed Barrett Monday night in a 52-48 vote, prompting calls by Democrats to move to pack the court if former Vice President Joe Biden wins the election. He says he'll study the idea through a bipartisan commission.
There's some literature among constitutional scholars about the possibility of going from one court to another court, not just always staying the whole time in the Supreme Court. But I have made no judgment.
All eyes will be on Justice Barrett as she weighs in on LGBTQ rights, religious freedoms, and the future of Obamacare next month. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
Just ahead, several people in Philadelphia demanding action.
Protesters demand answers after the fatal shooting of a black man by police. I'm Aisha Hasni in Philadelphia with the latest coming up.
Protesters in Philadelphia are calling for justice after the death of a 27-year-old black man who was shot by police. Demonstrators and demonstrations turned violent at one point yesterday evening as people demand answers from city officials. Fox News correspondent Aisha Hasni has more.
Protests erupted in Philadelphia Monday night following the fatal shooting of a black man by police. Hundreds took to the streets, some looting businesses and setting vehicles on fire. Others in the crowd threw rocks and bricks at police. More than 90 people were arrested and at least 30 officers injured, including one who was hit by a truck.
There's a lot of civil unrest, and I'm encouraging the citizens of Philadelphia to not tear down your community.
The outrage sparked by the death of 27-year-old Walter Wallace Jr. in a West Philadelphia neighborhood. Officers say they responded to the area on reports of an armed man and found Wallace walking around with a knife. Police say they ordered him to drop the weapon, but he continued moving towards officers, who then fired at him several times. Wallace was taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. His father tells the Philadelphia Inquirer that his son was on medication and struggled with mental health issues.
It's very tragic what happened here in the city of Philadelphia. It demonstrates how much more work we have to do in our city to move our city forward.
The officers involved have been placed on desk duty pending an investigation. Protesters and city activists demanding answers as to why less lethal force wasn't used.
We're looking at what led up to the shooting and the incidents around that, up to and including any risk management issues.
And city officials say they will meet with community members to hear their concerns firsthand. In Philadelphia, Aisha Hasni, Fox News.
So if things in this world really turn south, but you have a hankering for Oreos, the cookie company has you covered. Okay, take my word on this. More on this when we come back. If catastrophe strikes the earth, good news here, whoever is left can still enjoy an Oreo. Oreo revealing it's made a vault to protect its cookies and recipes. The Oreo vault was specifically created in response to asteroid 2018 VP1, or the so-called Election Day asteroid, which we're being told, has an extremely slim chance of entering the Earth's atmosphere on Monday. Inside the Oreo vault, there are packs of cookies encased in a special sealing that can withstand temperatures as high as 300 degrees or as low as negative 80 degrees. Oreo has also stored powdered milk, so survivors can mix it with powdered snow and dunk their Oreos in milk, even though things have, like we said before, really gone south. Is this going too far? No. You got to protect stuff like that. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Thousands of acres burn as the record-breaking fire season in Southern California continues. I'm Jonathan Hunt in Foothill Ranch. I'll have the details coming up.
The Joplin School Board has an item on their agenda to approve: the purchase of Chromebooks for College Heights Christian School. I'm Chris Warner with why the purchase has to go through the Joplin District.
Joplin School District approving buying 80 Chromebooks using CARES funding. However, the purchase is not for the district specifically. KOAM's Chris Warner explains.
College Heights Christian School is a private religious school in Joplin. It falls within the Joplin School District's attendance boundary, and it's the recipient of the 80 Chromebooks approved by the Joplin School Board. Joplin School's Executive Director of Student Services, Sandra Cantwell, says it's because the private schools, or non-public schools, don't receive the funding directly from the federal government.
There are federal grants that we get every year, and off the top of that, the non-publics get their proportionate share through services or supplies or goods.
Because the funding is handled by the public school, in this case Joplin Schools, anything the non-public schools need has to go through Joplin.
So all orders go through the public school. They don't get any money. There's just a set aside for them, and then they send all of their orders to us and we process them just like we would process an order for the district.
College Heights Superintendent Dan Decker says it's not unlike state money they get.
It's the same thing with title money, which is money to help students in the educational process. Joplin gets a certain amount, and then they have to divide that up, a certain amount up amongst the private schools within their attendance area.
Cantwell says only items over a certain amount have to go through the Joplin School Board for approval. Most requests for lower dollar items like hand sanitizer or cleaning supplies don't require board approval. Decker says there are still many people who are unaware of the required partnership.
I think so, because I think most people in the public realm, they just automatically assume that it's completely separate, and with many things it is, but with federal monies it's not.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Officials say there are stipulations for the funding, especially if it goes to a religious school, but in some cases whatever is being provided through Joplin must be in a room that has no religious icons or symbols of any kind. Some people in the 4 states are mixing a history lesson with spooky season. The Kendrick House in Carthage was built back in 1849. Over the past several years, it has had multiple uses, including a community sick house, Civil War field hospital, and a private home. Officials say because of that history, the house is a hotbed for paranormal activity. It's the final stretch before the 2020 election, and both candidates are crisscrossing across battleground states working to sway voters. So far, more than 67 million Americans have voted early, and with 7 days remaining until Election Day, millions more are still expected to turn out. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with the latest on the campaign trail.
We were complacent last time. Folks got a little lazy. Folks took things for granted. And look what happened. Not this time. Not in this election.
Former President Obama hit the Sunshine State again to stump for his former Vice President Joe Biden. There is just 1 week until the election and the campaigns are in a full sprint. The presidential tickets are out meeting voters, as are their biggest surrogates.
Donald is a fighter. He loves this country and he fights for you every single day.
President Trump is hitting the Midwest, first stopping in Michigan, where he made the case as to why he should keep his job. He tweeted on his way that, quote, "The great red wave is forming and getting ready to vote."
Right now we're leading in almost everywhere.
In Georgia, Joe Biden is on the offensive to put the typically right-leaning state back in play.
I run to unite this nation and to heal this nation.
I've said that from the beginning.
The Real Clear Politics average of national polls shows Mr. Biden with a 7.4% lead over Mr. Trump just 1 week out from November 3rd. And more states have begun early in-person voting with long lines, including in the nation's capital.
We've had lines at 6 a.m. and voters are steadily streaming through.
Neither campaign has announced their official election night plans. We still don't know if they will have a party with supporters and where the candidates will be. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
California's record-breaking fire season shows no signs of slowing down as crews battle yet another set of fires. Tens of thousands have been forced to leave their homes in Southern California as weather conditions there continue to impact firefighters. Fox News Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt has more.
Gusty winds and low humidity are still fueling a pair of fires tearing through Southern California. More than 90,000 people have been forced to evacuate after the fires exploded in size on Monday. Many watched as 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts drove flames closer to their homes.
November 2008,
Okay.
burned all the way up to the structure, and they saved the house. So we're hoping that'll happen again.
It's right there, so it's really close, but we trust the firefighters.
2 firefighters were severely injured while battling the Silverado fire in Irvine. It has now charred more than 11,000 acres and quadrupled in size in less than a day. Strong winds forced firefighters to ground their aircraft for much of Monday. Southern California Edison says it is investigating whether one of its wires sparked the flames. The company is one of several that cut power to prevent high winds from knocking down equipment.
This fire is going to continue to cross and encroach upon the homes in multiple areas. So our priority right now is getting people evacuated and out of the path of the fire.
Just miles away from the Silverado fire, crews are also working to contain the Blue Ridge fire. Fire officials say low humidity and dry vegetation has further fueled the flames. More than 8,000 acres have burned.
I don't plan on going anywhere unless it gets really, really bad, but I'm ready to go if need be.
Red flag warnings will remain in effect through this evening. In Foothill Ranch, California, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News.
A little bit later, going to catch up with some local axe throwers who qualified for the World Championships.
We saw another taste of winter to start the day out with temperatures cold enough to support rain, freezing rain, and even some sleet at times. But for areas around Seneca, Missouri, for example, the time lapse from Indigo Sky just outside of Seneca, Missouri showed just a lot of cloud cover and mainly rain for today, but at the very least, we saw temperatures head back in the right direction as we proceeded throughout the course of the day. But we're going from one problem to another. Flood watch is now the main issue for the next few days. For parts of southeast Kansas until noon on Thursday, and Lawrence, Berry, McDonald, and Newton counties in southwest Missouri until 7 o'clock Thursday evening because of the rain that we've already seen, averaging out to about 1.5 inches since this whole system began. And yet more rain on the way. We're getting wave number 2 out of the picture. We're still holding on to mainly light rain. A few areas close to the freezing mark trying to see a little bit of freezing drizzle or light freezing rain trying to hold on. But we're going to back things down to a little bit of a drizzle tonight before the next wave of rain comes in tomorrow. But temperatures, they didn't start in a good place. Upper 20s to the lower 30s, but we headed in the right direction throughout the course of the day. We saw some mid 30s popping back up around lunchtime and even some upper 30s, and even Bentonville pushing 41 for today. So far, we have not seen temperatures budge very much this evening, and thankfully, we're going to trend a little bit upward as we head towards sunrise in the morning. I think we'll see temperatures around 37 by sunrise, and even with more rain on the way, it'll stay rain with highs in the upper 40s. So even with the clouds and more rain on the way, we're going to continue to trend in the right direction as far as temperatures go. More snow and ice developing across New Mexico, Texas, and western parts of Oklahoma where they do not need any more of this, but it's all because of the same storm system still stuck in place. We're going to see this front get pulled back up our way over the next few days as the main system itself, the upper low spinning across southern New Mexico, start to head our way as well. Before we can send wave number 3 our way, we'll just back things down to light drizzle throughout the course of the night under otherwise cloudy skies. Temperatures mainly holding steady and pushing into the mid to upper 30s by sunrise. Once we get into the afternoon, though, that's when the next wave brings in quite a bit of rainfall as we continue throughout our Wednesday. 37 in the morning, 46 by noon, highs around 49 degrees with a light northeast breeze. Thankfully, this day is all rain as the backside of the system finally begins to work in on Thursday morning. And fingers crossed, we can start to clear things out by Thursday afternoon. Now, in terms of additional rain, this is why the flood watches are out. We have a shot to pick up an additional 1 to maybe 3.5 inches of rain before we can clear things out by Thursday afternoon. Then we're looking a lot better if you're not a fan of this weather as we head toward the weekend. 49 for Wednesday, staying in the 40s on Thursday. Chilly, but back near 60 on Friday. Looking good for Halloween and staying quiet as we roll back the clocks on Sunday and heading towards Election Day on Tuesday. Jordan?
Thanks again. The coronavirus is putting countless holiday traditions on hold, from Halloween parties to Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas concerts. But there is one thing even a global pandemic cannot stop. Fox News correspondent Jackie Banyas explains.
While the holidays will look a lot different this year, one tradition is not going away: holiday shopping. According to a worldwide survey of more than 5,000 people by Oracle Retail, customers are eager to shop despite the pandemic, with nearly 60% saying they plan to spend about the same or more on gifts this year. The pandemic is affecting how consumers want to spend their money. Around half of respondents plan to split purchases between online and in-store shopping. Only about 20% say they feel safe shopping entirely in person.
I'm comfortable going and shopping. I think the stores are doing a good job keeping everything clean and sanitized.
For the first time, curbside pickup is likely to be a popular trend, with about 16% of those surveyed choosing this option as their preferred method.
It's more convenient to just pick it up on the app, order it on the app, pull up curbside, and then have them handed to you.
Many consumers believe visiting brick and mortar shops is a big part of the holiday experience, but health and safety are paramount. If retail stores do want to see more people walk through the door, they will have to make a safety precaution list and check it twice. Things like hand sanitizer stations, mandatory masks for staff and customers, and visible cleaning efforts are all key to consumer confidence.
I think what consumers are looking for is basic levels of protection and safety, and they're looking that confidence that their needs are being looked after.
The holiday season is underway, even though it's only October. Stores like Best Buy, Macy's, and Target have already started rolling out Black Friday deals. Jackie Banyas, Fox News.
Coming up, we're going to introduce you to a boxer training out of Galena, Kansas, as she gets ready to fight in the KC Golden Gloves regional tournament this weekend. A local boxer has made it to the top 5 in the national rankings and has her sights set on continuing to climb all the way up to the top. Sports director Jacob Leonard catches up with $1 Million Maddie Bolin, as she's being known as she prepares for her next fight.
Maddie Bolin is soft-spoken, so she lets her hands do the talking.
I just know I have to go in there and be aggressive, and I can block everybody out when I'm in there.
Everybody's got a different outlook of things when they get in the ring. They know they're in there you got combat in front of them. You got to go to work.
Bolin, who fights out of Heartland Boxing Gym in Galena, has made her way up to number 4 in the USA Boxing National Rankings, but she's not done climbing.
I just love it. I just want to go as far as I can with it and get at least 200 fights, shoot for the Olympics, win all the national titles, win everything I can with it.
Bolin will be in the ring this weekend at the KC Golden Gloves Regional Tournament, an event she has won the last 2 years.
I'm feeling confident, but I don't take anyone lightly.
Real aggressive fighter. She got good speed, good power. We've been working a little bit on the Tyson style, moving the head a little bit more and coming in.
Bolin hopes this weekend is another step on her way to the top. She credits her trainer and her gym for the opportunity to get there.
I wouldn't be where I am without the gym or Dallas. Dallas is the best coach out there.
She loves the boxing and stuff, and anything you love, you're going to put more into it, put your heart into it, and more drive towards it. That's what she kind of lives for right now.
In Galena, Jacob Leonard, KOAM Sports.
Bolin played collegiate soccer at NEO before beginning her boxing career. After this weekend, she's going to prepare for USA Nationals, which will be in Louisiana coming up in December. Back with more news after this. 4 members of the Axe Throwing League at Main Street Axe Company in Pittsburgh, Kansas, qualified for the World Championships in December. Tonight, they competed in their weekly league matches. So we sent photojournalist Daniel Kemp there to scope out the competitors.
You know, being in a small market, you know, it makes me very proud of what we're doing here. You know, being in business for 2 years now, and to have axe throwers developed to compete on the national level and international level speaks volumes of, you know, the competitors that we have here in Southeast Kansas.
It's kind of cool to be able to go to places like that and just represent Southeast Kansas, our area, and I kind of think it's an awesome deal.
I don't think it's going to hit us until we get there and we're with the best, and then to know that we're with the best, and you know we're able to compete with the best axe throwers.
It hasn't really hit us all the way yet. I guess when we're there and we walk into the place, it's going to be a different story. But I mean, I'm a little nervous thinking about it now.
I just think it's a cool opportunity to go check it out. You know, get to go throw with some of these guys that have been doing it since the league and everything got started. So
at the end of the day, it's just having a good time, competing, and having fun.
Congratulations, guys. Going to preview a new scare on Netflix, fitting for this week when we come back. A new horror film is coming to Netflix this week just in time for Halloween, and it's offering more than just scares. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has a story.
I saw something.
The new Netflix horror film, His House, offers up the scares while addressing timely social issues.
One of the things I'd say was really important is about giving a voice to displaced people. And they're people that we talk about a lot in the news and in private conversations, but we never really hear from them. So this is an opportunity to share their story.
You must not move from this address.
The movie follows a young refugee couple seeking asylum in England after escaping the war in South Sudan. As they struggle to adapt to their new life in a small English town, they realize something evil is lurking in their home.
It's really a story about two people trying to wrestle with their history and how to move forward in their lives.
Actress Wumi Musaku says she hopes viewers are intrigued by the human story as much as they are by the horror.
I hope they feel empathy. I hope that they feel that they have a slight opening into the terrors people live with, are haunted by, the terrors of like leaving your home country, the terrors of war, the terrors of risking your life to get to safety, and what that really means when you're in a new country.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with video of some more Halloween decorations from around Joplin. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.